It was a problem that I wanted to solve that I saw around me, really smart young people working, I don't know, 15 hours, 18-hour days, and they were eating crappy stuff.
You're listening to Foodie Canteen. I'm your host, Kessel Lim. In this podcast, I sit down with Southeast Asia's leaders, entrepreneurs, and content creators in the F&B space. This is where you'll learn about their trade secrets, or maybe you'll just find them as your next door neighbor. This show is supported by Good Foodie Media. For foodies who want to connect to the world through food, they curate the best spots to eat and drink in Malaysia, Bangkok, and Singapore. Check them out on Instagram for more. Today, co-founder of Amazin Graze, Amy Zheng, joins me on the show to share everything about the realities of being a female leader and CEO. From working with the UN to combating human trafficking in South India, creating products in her home kitchen, and finally having her brand on the shelves of prominent grocery stores like Village Grocer, Mercato, and Big, Amy is here to tell us the tale of both personal and professional growth.
This is part of my life that most people don't know. They all think I'm like this fantastic baker and I started this from home, which is, half of it is true. I did start this from home, but I'm not a fantastic baker. I guess it came from like a sense of my parents were immigrants to Australia. And so I really got the sense of, like it's not weird to move. It's not weird to go and explore the world. And I was always a wild child, right? So I was curious. And I think to be an entrepreneur, to create your own business, you have to be really, really curious. You have to be wondering what's out there and what's new. So I kind of just dabbled in everything that came my way. I was very passionate about culture. I was passionate about doing the right thing. And so prison reform, working with the UN and World Bank, and volunteering across, microfinancing organizations in Bangladesh and working with, anti-human trafficking efforts in South India. I think it was always a strong sense of justice and wanting to fight for underdogs. And it could be because keep thinking we're Chinese immigrants in Australia, and we were minorities. And so I knew what it felt like to be a minority, and that we need to work really, really hard to build our place. And so, that was the history. Before I came to Malaysia, I decided that Malaysia was a vibrant place where I can live in Asia, speak English, most of the time, and people were really open and accepting. So I never regretted doing that. And Amazin Graze was born as a result.
And what was the inspiration behind starting Amazin Graze?
The inspiration, to be very honest, it was a problem that I wanted to solve that I saw around me, really smart young people working, 15 hours, 18-hour days, and they were eating crappy stuff.
It's so true, man.
And everyone, and in fact, I looked around more and everyone was eating crappy stuff. Doesn't matter how educated you were, how much money you were owning. And then I started researching. I was like, okay, well, what's diabetes like? What was cardiovascular disease like? And then I guess it's no wonder that I think 1 in 3 or even up to 1 in 2 adults in Malaysia have either type 1 or type 2 diabetes. 25% of all deaths are caused by cardiovascular reasons. And so these are all preventable. These are not like, oh, by the way, I got cancer. I mean, arguably even cancer is in a way preventable if you live the right lifestyle. It was just like these are lifestyle choices that we were making, or we didn't know we were making. We didn't know the consequence of what we were doing that led to being obese is not even like the issue here, right? People are like, oh, obesity pandemic or crisis, and I'm like, well, okay, well, it is very inconvenient to be obese, I guess, you can't do as much as you want, but it's the consequence of having high cholesterol, high visceral body fat, and just sitting at a desk all day. So I can go on forever. You've just really hit a nerve here. So I really believe that, we needed to change the way we live and eat, and eating is the most direct way I can connect with people, in Malaysia, because they love to eat. It is a culture that just enjoys the food at a different degree and level that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I can agree more with you on this. And I want to talk a bit about the founders. There's three of you in the picture from the early days. How did this team come together, and who takes what roles?
And I think this is like one of the best ways for founders to get together. It's usually like a friend of a friend. So you knew them, you didn't, they weren't your direct friends, but you had like social credits that, social kind of reputation that you can count on. And so when I was venturing out and I said, right, I want to do something around this space, I was talking to a lot of people.
Yeah.
As you probably know, I talk a lot. So I ended up like finding people with common interest, and that's how we came together. In terms of the roles that we had, I think, we all played very similar roles in the beginning. Like everybody did everything, and that's how a startup even worked in the first place. Yeah. But eventually later on, I think I took on more of the strategy and the product role. I was really into marketing. The other was Sabrina took on operations. She really knew, what inputs and outputs, and got the processes together and made sure we were producing at the right quality, at the right quantity. And Chin was like, she was super artistic. She was very creative. So she did a lot of our social media. She was doing some sales. She took the photos, and we were all doing everything. There wasn't like, I just do this and you do this and we don't intersect. That wasn't possible.
And Amazin Graze started from home, right? Like, was it directly to online markets? Like, how were the early days like up until today?
Yep. So for those of you out there who are, creating something from your home, it's a very encouraging story to see how we did it. We went to the markets first. So back then, before pandemic, there were always weekend markets at Publica, at Bangsa, Hatamas, whatnot. And we just took that opportunity to go, well, this is the best way to meet customers. This is the best way to test your products and see if people will be, willing to pay money for this. No, your friends aren't going to tell you that your product's crap. They're too nice. They don't want to hurt your feelings.
Yeah, they want to be like the encourager,
That's right. So they don't want to offend you. So the only way you can find out whether you have a market for your product is to sell it to strangers who have no social obligations to buy it from you. So I think from then on, people are like, well, if we wanted to buy this, where do we go? And so that's when we set up our online store, and we started, selling online. And I was doing our deliveries because I was so curious, who's buying this online? I mean, who would do this? And so it was really great meeting our first few customers who were like, oh, this is how I heard of you. And so that's how we got started.
And when was the first big break?
The first big break. Oh, okay. I would say definitely one of our first markets in Bangsa Shopping Centre was a very affirmative occasion for us. So, it was our second market or something, and we baked like crazy, and we had about 600 individual packets of granola and nut mixes, and we sold out of everything in 3 days, right? And that was really encouraging because we're like, wow, people really like this. People were buying this. So I thought that was like the first affirmative milestone. And then our second big break, I guess, would be probably getting our products into Ben's independent grocer. So big, we're always thankful that these guys gave us a chance. We were nobody. We didn't even know how to do packaging, and they eventually gave us a chance to put our products on the shelf. So that was a very proud moment.
And that was like 6 years ago. You guys started in 2015. Now you guys have expanded to several countries like Australia, US, and Singapore. What do you think is the secret behind Amazin Graze's products and their popularity?
Yeah, I think, our DNA is one where we really want to be fun and nutritious and, delightful. So the problem that we always saw with health food was that, people would tease people who want to be healthy and say, you're just being a rabbit, or you're really not living your life to the fullest, or you only live once, you might as well just eat burgers all day, right? So that was like, we wanted to change that perception. Like, no, you can live healthy and still be happy and have great food, right? No one said eating healthy food is supposed to be draconian. So that was really important. So I think we really found the intersection between healthy and delicious and fun. So people were really excited getting our products and making their breakfast and, decorating it with fruits and nuts and the variety of what they're getting, the flavors. We really try to be as local or pushing the culinary boundaries as much as possible. I mean, everyone just was so used to plain oats, or just apple flavored cereals. And every single brand that was brought in had the same flavors. It was raspberry, it was apple, it was maybe chocolate and banana, and that's all you got. I mean, I was like, wait a minute, we have so much more flavors and so much more ingredients and exciting things that people were eating every day. Why can't we incorporate that into healthy whole grains and nuts and foods that, was good for planet and good for us? So I think that's a secret. It's just that simple, right? Like make people feel good about eating healthy.
And talk about flavors like you said, Asian food. It's very flavorful. It's very delicious, and certainly when we eat something delicious, is high on the list. While healthy is likely very low. For example, classic flavors like gula melaka. It has a high sugar content. How do you adapt these Asian flavors and make them healthier in your products?
Yeah, really glad you asked. So gula melaka is a great ingredient. Like there's so much history and local influence, and the way that's made is insanely like laborious, So and the ingredient itself, the sugar that's derived from that palm tree, is actually nutritious, and it's not all bad. So again, I'm hesitant, or I'm not very sure about this current trend of everyone saying, oh, no sugar, sugar's evil, or carbs are evil, or oil is evil, or fat is evil. I think, look, we've all gone a little bit crazy with just demonizing particular nutrients, right? But in the right amount, in the right integration ingredient process, you end up getting this wonderful product that is delicious, but also in the moderation that your body's got to be happy with. So it's not about saying no sugar, no carbs or anything. It's about saying, well, let's incorporate the deliciousness of life and use that in ways that people are going to feel good and love it and be good for them, and not demonize everything, because that's not the way to live. And you will just get tired of this like zero sugar, zero carb life after a while and start binging.
I love that.
You'll
it's
binge
like
one day.
enjoying healthy food, not limiting yourself. At the same time, you feel good about it.
And that's right. And appreciate it.
Yeah,
that's
and
right.
actually, we had a conversation before the interview. You said that women, there's a research that women love snacks, and that's how you guys came out with like, you know what, let's do this healthy snacks for the people.
Yeah. So really interestingly, our mood and our desire for food and beverage changes throughout the day. In the morning, not surprisingly, we are feeling like, hey, I want to start my day right. I want a good breakfast or drink or whatever cereal it is that I can feel good about myself. And a few hours after that, maybe 8 hours after that, you post lunch, 3 or 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. even, you start feeling tired and you probably have a lot of stress in your life. And that's when men and women, I would say, start looking for something to comfort themselves, right? They may get peckish, but instead of choosing a fruit or choosing like something more wholesome, they're like, I need to de-stress and reward myself by smashing down this entire chocolate bar. So it's real, right? And we're not saying don't be stressed. We're saying we understand you do get stressed. It's real. But instead of like this chocolate bar, this bag of chips, here's an alternative that makes you still feel good about eating it, but it's not going to be damaging for you, or it's not going to give you too much sugar and calories.
So can you take us through the creative process of creating the products at Amazin Graze? Like, how do you know which flavors to go for? It may be trend, or maybe something that you like, or it's based on research.
Yep. I think as a startup or as a still a younger company that is founder led, you'll definitely find that the people, the founders will have a huge influence on the creative process.
Yeah.
And that's actually not replicable, and ideally shouldn't be replicable, because it is influenced by the philosophy, like our values and our philosophy about what's good tasting and what's exciting, right? So, and that changes a lot. So I guess having the opportunity to have gone around the world and lived around the world and, shuttle between Australia, Malaysia and Singapore and other countries, I do get excited, and I see a very wide range of trendy, flavors and ingredients, and it's always inspiring, right? And I think in our community of, people who want to live healthier, they are also discovering new ingredients. And I guess no thanks to the big food companies who are, kind of dominating our agriculture, who are always, that means we only get single grains or very few variety of grains and fruits and veggies and whatnot. We're now trying to broaden that. We're now trying to say, well, the world has so much to offer, and there is superfoods everywhere for different, and they've been there for hundreds and thousands of years. Well, let's bring them back. Let's expose more people to these ingredients. And so, so I think that is really inspires me to incorporate that into the creative process.
And initially, the products were made by you and the co-founders in your home kitchens. As you expand, like, how do you ensure the same TLC and homemade goodness quality in now mass-produced products?
Yeah, I think one is our process is still very much, I call us a big bakery. We are still, the whole entire process has not changed. It may be just, from a smaller tray to a bigger tray now, but in terms of how the ingredients are added, how they're mixed and how they're laid on the trays, how they're baked, the way we have to pause in the middle and switch the trays in the oven so that it gets evenly baked, and that there's variability, right? Like you've got some crispier bits in the middle, and you've got, other parts around the edges that are a bit different. The color's going to be a bit more variable. Like this is a baked product from an oven. And so that's very much still very, very much the same as how we started the company.
That was Amy Zheng. You're listening to Foodie Canteen. After this break, Amy shatters the rose-colored glass and tells us about her failed venture. She also talks about key ingredients to running and maintaining a successful company. This show is supported by Good Foodie Media. For foodies who want to connect to the world through food, that's where you go. Find Penang Foodie, KL Foodie, Halal Foodie, Johor Foodie, Bangkok Foodie, and Singapore Foodie on Instagram. They curate the best spots to eat and drink in these cities.
I love hearing failure stories, and I would forewarn you that this could be one of our failure stories. We had the idea, I think, about 4 years ago, and it was really exciting because we're like, okay, everyone's drinking bubble tea, and this thing can't be great for you. So we wanted to have drinks that had 100%, whole grains and vegetables and fruits, and the fiber was intact, and we were using nut butters and everything like that. So it was okay, but our lesson learned was location was really important. You do want to be in a place with a lot of footfall. So unfortunately, we weren't in a location with a lot of footfall. And secondly, COVID hit. And so we were like, okay, this is the last straw. But I do want to share that we want to revive a even bigger concept when the economy is doing a little bit, is doing, I think the economy is doing well now, but even more open than it is now. We want to have a plant-based food concept and drinks concept. So nothing wasted. We want to bring that back.
Yeah. And like you said, when you go into a new concept or say a market or a country, what are some of the factors you and the team consider? Like you said, location was one of the lessons you took away from Glow, right?
Yep, absolutely. I think it's important to look at how open up the local market to new things. And that's actually not something a lot of people talk about. But we are so spoiled by being in Asia when everything's developing fast all the time. And young people, especially young people, are just opened to new brands, new flavors, new items. But there are countries that are more, I guess, set in their ways, and they're not as open to new things. Because they just really value tradition, they really value the way they've always done things. And so it'll be harder to break into these markets. But having said that, I think if you have authentic branding and you really, have good values for why you're doing what you're doing, you're not just in there to make money, right? Like, it's not just about, hey, is there a profit here? But thinking about, is there people I can benefit in this market? And if the answer is yes, there is a definitely group of people that we can benefit and help and provide them with great products, then I think it's viable. So it really depends on who you talk to. If you talk to a venture capital firm, they'll be like, nah, only big markets, don't want to think about anything else. But again, your reason of starting this business could be very different. You could be like, I'm satisfied with giving 100 people more value and helping them, as opposed to being so profitable of a $1 billion market and say my company's worth X, Y, and Z. So it really comes back to your values. And I think that's something that we need to talk about we should talk about more. It's not just about how much money you're raising.
Talk about values. Do you think your values has evolved compared to when you first started the company and to now when you've grew it to, I would say, hundreds of employees right now?
I would say my values probably became more clearer. And there was definitely times where your values get challenged as well, right? When difficulties come.
Is there a story that you can tell us?
Yeah, it's like story we can tell. It's like, for example, you have employee issues. You have we run these huge baking centers, and there are employee issues. For example, there are work permit issues for people, and how hard do you fight for these people to remain, valid, to have valid working permits and remain in this country. And so if you only cared about, for example, profit, and you don't care about the welfare of your people, you would make, for example, different choices. And so, the value question, especially when you're running a business, is always between profit or people. I mean, yes, they can both work together. It doesn't mean no profit, yes people, no profit. But there are times when you need to make that decision. Or for example, when you realize there was there was a quality issue, we just sent out something that was burnt, right? And then the question is, do you have to recall everything? At that point? And again, it's a trade-off between profit and your values towards customers. And what do you do then? So these values do get challenged. I think every time you go through, you do strengthen them. And I would say the only way you can have a lasting business is if you have strong values.
Yeah, that's so good. Profit and people. I want to talk a bit about the company. It's founded and run by women. Like you said, we talked before, you said 90% of the company is female and now it's led by Sabrina yourself. What are the advantages and disadvantages have you experienced in this almost all girls team?
Yeah, so 90% is more the management team, right? So the senior managers, I think, we have mostly women, a lot of women, and in different departments, it's more gender balanced, right? So we do have a lot of guys, and we treasure them. We're like, you are protected species in this company. We want you to stay. Yeah. So I think the advantages and disadvantages. So I've always worked in very male-dominated industries, so I guess I can have some view to that. It will just apply to my experience. I find that we value open communication a lot more. I think it's always like, guys, let's be vulnerable. Let's not hide anything under the carpet. This is the way things are. Let's talk about it, right? And I do think there's a lot more discussions and open communication, and therefore I find that collaboration spirit is really awesome. I think people may typically think that there's a lot of like politics between people. And maybe there is some of that. I would never say in a 200 plus organization, there will be zero politics. That's just not possible. But I do think people are careful of each other's feelings. We're not ruthless. We take care of each other. We take care of each other's feelings. But at the same time, we're really ambitious. So there's this, I reckon this generation of women are at this like crazy level of ambition. Because I think maybe we've seen that, our previous generations, our moms and grandparents, they didn't have the same opportunity. And so we feel like we owe it to ourselves and to this intergeneration of people to make the best of our current privilege of being able to choose career and family and make the best of our lives. So I see as a consequence, there's just very driven women Yep.
Yeah, talk about this generation of women. Like you said, they're very driven, seeing that there are so many women that go before us that are leaders in the marketplace. And I'm sure some of us here do think about what it's like to be a CEO of a company. So my question to you is like, what does a day look like for you in the life of the CEO in Amazin Graze?
Yeah. Okay. Well, no one's ever asked me that. But I like the question. Okay. So on a typical day, a weekday, I would get up probably about 6:30, 7, and I'll actually start walking. I wouldn't pick up the phone. I would actually I try not to check WhatsApp or emails for the first hour of getting up. I usually find myself walking and listening to like this, a podcast. And that's always very helpful to inspire me to have the right mindset for the rest of the day, because it's not about do. It's about thinking about what you're doing, and being that better person for the whole company. Because if I'm just doing everything inside out and taking that role, that's not a good thing for the company. The company needs me to look 5-10 years ahead and look at things that maybe a lot of people are not thinking about, and being able to provide that value, I guess, to each department and personnel within them. So yes, I wake up, I do my walk, and then I get a coffee and I start, now it's remote working. So I usually, have a chat with the team or some meetings with the team. I check my emails, I get some work done. And then I get to maybe sometimes meet a client if back in the days where we can meet clients. And on a good day, I can also taste some products. So I will go in and people are like, try this, try that. What do you think? And so there's taste testing, which is one of my favorite things to do. And it's really exciting. And then I'll probably have to jump on a call about budget or something around people issues. So there are different days, there's different department meetings. And so that's probably a typical day or week. And yeah, I guess I get a bit of flexibility in my day as well. Like I try to make sure that I spend time with my family. And if I need to be at dinner, I'm at dinner. And work can always continue later. So yes, I don't have a 9-to-5 life, right? It could be working at 11 p.m., but that also means I get to do other things during the day that other people may need to be working during those hours. So I get a lot of flexibility, which is awesome.
So what's next for Amazin Graze?
Oh, so much. We really think that the world is ready for a more sustainable, plant-based company that is creating products for this audience that wants to live better, right? It's not just their breakfast. It could be all throughout the day. And quite frankly, it's not just them, it's their family, right? It could be their parents, it could be their husband or wife, it could be their kids, it could be their colleagues. And so we're really trying to build the product innovation pipeline around the needs of this person that is just trying to live better. Right. And that's our goal. And that's just inspiring so many new things. We're coming up with, a lot of products that are higher in protein, in fiber, again, all plant-based. We're trying to become more and more vegan and more less reliant on any animal products. We're trying to make our packaging even more sustainable. We're trying to come up with plant-based, eat-in concept. And we're moving into more countries where people are excited about our philosophy and what we do. So there's just a lot in store, and it's all driven by this vision of the world living better. And that's it. That's just the only vision that I think is sustainable.
What is a common misconception about starting a business that you would like to debunk?
That you have to raise money very early on, or that you have to raise a lot of money. I think we don't talk about this enough. I think everyone's just following the standard book or playbook saying you need to raise Series D, you need to raise Series A and B and all that. And everyone's just kind of getting crazy over the huge amount of capital that's in the market at the moment. So I do think be firm with why you've started this business. It could be because you just want to do something for yourself. You want to benefit a small group of people, and you're very happy having a sustainable business that never makes it to the papers. And that is totally okay and doable. And rather than everyone thinking that they need to become billion-dollar companies. So there's a huge cost, I think, when you're raising money at this speed and at the amount that a lot of people are. You need to deliver, and the weight on your shoulders of raising this much money and delivering that performance is stressful. So I think be firm with your values and why you created the company. It's easy to get lost in the venture capital jargon of all these growth and multiples and everything, right? We just lost our way. Hey, so what if you didn't grow as much as you were supposed to last? I mean, who defined those yardsticks anyway? Okay, you didn't grow 300%. Oh, wow, you feel really bad now. I just think we just need to really have a conscious conversation about why we're starting businesses.
Yeah, I think that's just the downside of social media. Like as much as we love highlighting and celebrating milestones, but sometimes the comparison game really kills you. And like you said, who is measuring the yardstick? Like who are you comparing yourself to? Who are you need to be better than?
Yeah, exactly. And you push people over the edge, you burn bridges, right? So, yeah.
So my final question for you today is, what has this journey taught you about yourself so far?
Yeah, this journey has taught me that actually life is really short. 6 years has passed really fast, and sometimes I feel like we've done a lot. Sometimes I also get, swiped into the lingo. I'm like, oh, we didn't grow enough and everything. But don't live in the future, because I find myself sometimes going, oh, the future will be X, Y, Z. Like, yes, that's all good, well and good, but don't always live in the future. Really enjoy every day that you have now, and even the struggles that you have now. The struggles that we've had over the last 6 years and even today makes us better people. We are hustlers. We are expert hustlers as a result of having no resources for the longest time. And I think it's not a bad thing. I think it really made us much more tougher and creative in coming up with solutions. And so I am appreciative and grateful of every single challenge that we've come along the way. And I don't ever want to be in a position where there's no problems ever and there's no challenges, and resources was not an issue. I just think you lose sight. You just won't be. So no struggle is bad. If I can sum it up, I appreciate struggles.
You have just listened to Amy's story on Foodie Canteen. This show is produced by me, your host Castle Lim, and written by Sulin Chang. Foodie Canteen podcast is made possible by the excellent team at Good Foodie Media. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Foodie Canteen for more. Follow us for brand new episodes every Friday. Thank you for listening.